Daddie Sports, where I'm your host, Big Daddy, and here's my partner,
L.B. Jenkins.
We'll be with you for the next 17 weeks, going over NFL picks and other hot topics in the NFL. This week we want to get started with quarterbacks that we think have something to prove this year. Alex Smith.
Alex Smith, the man that gets you 3 quarters but then fails in the 4th. I think you got Joe Montana, Steve Young, Jeff Garcia, Alex Smith. He doesn't belong with the rest of them. I think they signed him for a 1-year contract for a reason. He won't be there next year.
I agree with you. Alex Smith has been a bust since day one. They've tried every offense possible in the NFL to acclimate to his talents, and it just hasn't helped. This year they also got Braylon Edwards to put on the outside with Ted Ginn in the slot and Michael Crabtree on the other side. And it's just not working out when you have a tight end like Vernon Davis. There's just no excuses for Alex Smith, and I think he won't start past week 5. What do you think of Donovan McNabb?
Donovan McNabb's a great quarterback. I mean, you had the Mike Shanahan issues last season, getting a fresh start with Minnesota. I think this is his season to actually show that he's still a good quarterback. I think he's on the hot seat, not just for him being the starting quarterback in Minnesota, but also an elite quarterback in the league. I think he won't be with Minnesota next year if he doesn't bring them to the playoffs.
It's going to be difficult to bring him to the playoffs in the tough NFC, but I think he will play well. I think Adrian Peterson gives him something he's never had before, and that's a bona fide in-between-the-tackles runner. I think his arm is still there, his mobility is still there, and his leadership has never been a question. I think he should be fine in the offense he's very comfortable with. What do you think of Jay Cutler?
Jay Cutler. He performs, but at the same time, I just don't see him in Chicago. I think Chicago honestly needs to rebuild or bring in another quarterback that's going to rejuvenate that team. I think they're in a kind of stale situation. I don't see them going to the NFC Championship this year. If they make the playoffs, they're only going to make the wild card.
I'm mad at Jay for last year in the NFC Championship game. I think he quit on his team. I know he had a tear in his knee, but I point to Phillip Rivers, no ACL, and he's trying to get to a Super Bowl. You don't get that opportunity quite often. And I know Urlacher backed him up, but I think Urlacher's a quitter too. You don't quit in game 1 of a season because, I got a broke wrist. You catch that bad boy up and play. So I think they have questions with leadership in Chicago, but I do think in Mark's system, he has the arm talent to get things done. What do you think of Tony Romo?
Tony Romo. I'm going to go with Troy Aikman on this. If Dallas does not make it to the Super Bowl, if they're not at least to the NFC Championship, I think it's time for them to rebuild. Tony Romo's had his Jessica Simpson excuses, he's had his injury excuses. I think this is the year Tony Romo has to prove that he's a championship quarterback.
I think Tony Romo's an elite quarterback. I think that whole team struggled last year, and he broke his clavicle, as we know, and kind of took the fall for the team. I think the talent around him is pretty good. I think he'll be fine this year, and I think he'll take strides towards that next step, that next level of an elite quarterback. Next, we're going to talk about Mark Sanchez.
Mark Sanchez. He's good on 3rd and 5, but let's be real, he can't win. The defense and the running game. You got Sean Green, we have LT in the backfield winning these games. I like the 3rd string they've been playing in the offseason better than Mark Sanchez right now. I think his future is very uncertain with the Jets. I think he's going to be a glorified backup in the future.
I like Mark Sanchez's swagger. I like the way he carries himself. He's obviously the leader of that offense. His arm strength's not a question. He makes great throws at times. It's just, at other times he makes bonehead plays. His completion percentage is too low to be an elite quarterback. But I will defend him and say it has not been his fault that they have not gone to the Super Bowl. In the last 2 years, the defense has not showed up in those AFC Championship games. So if the defense showed up, maybe they are in the Super Bowl. Mark has a lot of growing to do, but it's too early to throw in the towel on Mark Sanchez's career. And last but not least, we have my boy, Joe Flacco.
Joe Flacco has gone to the playoffs last 3 years. This is his 4th year of his contract. But there's a reason he hasn't been extended. I think the Ravens are trying to see can he be consistent. Some consider him elite, some don't. I think he has to prove this year. I think in the first 8 games, we're going to find out if Joe Flacco is the future Ravens quarterback.
I don't think it's Joe. His arm is fine. His leadership is fine. He actually can run more than people give him credit for. I think the problem is Cam Cameron. That offense is called very conservatively, and I think they need to open it up, utilize Ray Rice, but let Joe Flacco be Joe Flacco, use that big arm. I think with the addition of Lee Evans, he'll be fine, and Joe will fly this year. Joe will become an elite quarterback. Our next topic we're going to talk about is teams that we think are on the way up, but not quite at that playoff level. There's a couple of them, so let's start with Houston.
Houston. Matt Shaw's been healthy the last 2 years. He's been improving. I like them on offense. Andre Johnson is a monster. My problem with Houston is honestly their defense. They did not do anything this offseason to improve. You got Jonathan Joseph from Cincinnati. That's not going to help you in this league.
I like Houston. What I don't like is the fact that Arian Foster's hurt and possibly out the first 4 weeks. The offense is going to be stagnant without that running game to balance it. I also don't like the switch to the 3-4. I don't think they have the talent to play that defense. I don't want to see my best pass rusher, Mario Williams, dropping down in coverage. That's not what suits him. So I think they're going to struggle adjusting to the 3-4, and I just don't think they're ready to overtake that hump and take over the Indianapolis Colts in that division. Next team we're going to talk about is the Detroit Lions.
Detroit Lions. Great team with the healthy Matt Stafford. Okay team with the backup quarterbacks they've been running. Drew Stanton, Sean Hill, doing well. I think this year, if Stafford stays healthy, they're going to do great. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs or anything like that. But in the future 2 years, I think they're going to be a great team. They have a hard division. You got Green Bay, Chicago, Minnesota. I think in the upcoming years, they're going to do great.
I like Matt Stafford if he's healthy, but Matt Stafford can't seem to stay healthy. I like Calvin Johnson at wide receiver, maybe the best wide receiver in the game. They have talent up front, but where they have trouble is in the back end of that defense. Their cornerbacks are just not that great. Their safety play is below par, and I just think teams will figure out how to deal with their front seven and pass the ball on them. I see them around 8-8, but I don't see them making a playoff push this year. Next we have the Redskins, who I know you're down on.
We got Mike Shanahan with the Donovan McNabb, the Albert Hainsworth. It's a big ego trip going on down there. And then you have Rex Grossman. Even if he went to the Super Bowl, I'm sorry, I'm not sold on him starting. Your starting QB, you have John Beck fighting with him over stuff. I don't see them going anywhere. I honestly don't. I think they're going to be last in the division. And
I agree. They'll be last in the division. However, I believe last in that division will be 7-9, 8-8. I think they're headed in the right direction. The defense is consistent. They got Tim Hightower in the offseason, and he's shown this preseason. He's quicker, he's slimmed down, and that running game suits his running style. I believe them to be in every game, although they have a difficult schedule, but I believe that they're on the way up, and Mike Shanahan is implementing the things that he wants. Now, here's the segment you've all been waiting for. It's down to the picks. Finally, football's back. This Thursday, we have New Orleans going to the Super Bowl champion, Green Bay Packers house. Who you got?
I'm taking Green Bay. We had 8 starters injured last year.
We?
Oh,
we're a Packers fan now. Okay.
On week one, I'm taking Green Bay.
Front runner. Okay, go ahead.
I'm taking Green Bay. 8 injured starters last season. Still went to the Super Bowl and took it against Pittsburgh. I think New Orleans has a new running game that just hasn't been acclimated yet to. So I think Green Bay is going to take week 1.
Since front runner over here took Green Bay, I'm just going to go ahead and go with the Saints. I have no real reason, but I think the Saints are going to shock them because front runner here is on their bandwagon. Next game we have is Atlanta versus Chicago. I'm taking the Bears. I know I just bashed Jay Cutler, and he's still not one of my favorites, but I think the team is good enough at home to deal with the Falcons.
I'm taking Chicago as well. Atlanta to me is, soft team. For these last couple years, to me, haven't really had good competition or anything like that. Matt Ryan, Michael Turner's good, but I'm still taking Chicago. Mike Smarts is going to attack that ATO defense that hasn't improved over the offseason.
There's no question about that. Next, we have Cincinnati versus Cleveland.
Colt McCoy trained with the great Brett Favre over the offseason. Even though there's a lockout, that shows leadership there. I think they trust him to lead.
Shows Favre leadership, it's not McCoy.
Thanks for Favre blending out helping hand. But I'm pretty sure Cleveland's going to take it. Cincinnati is in anarchy right now with Carson Palmer, coaching issues, and personnel.
If Cincinnati wins 3 games this year, it'll be a successful season. I'm taking Cleveland. Then we have Buffalo versus Kansas City. I'm going to shock you. I'm going to take Buffalo. Ryan Fitzpatrick may not be a household name, but he runs that offense efficiently. And Kansas City has looked horrible this preseason, so I'm going with Buffalo on the road.
Horrible preseason, but it's still just a preseason. I see Matt Castle last year take the division. I think Matt Castle had to prove something. He can consistently be as good as he was as a Patriot. I think KC's going to take it.
Okay. In the next game, we have Philly, the Dream Team, versus St. Louis.
Vince Young's Dream Team. They had the greatest offseason this year. They got Nnamdi Asuma. Wow. These guys with these foreign names.
He was speaking in tongues.
Alright, we got Nnamdi, we got Vince Young as a backup. Michael Vick just got a $100 million contract. He has a lot to prove that he can live up to this $100 million. We all know what happened before. I think he's humbled himself. I think he's going to be a leader. And of course, Philly's going to beat St. Louis.
Philly's more talented than St. Louis. I don't see this though as a blowout. See, it's a close game to the fourth quarter. Philly pulling away. Then we have Detroit versus Tampa Bay. I'm going to take Detroit. I think Tampa Bay has not really improved this offseason. I see Detroit having to make a point and try to get started with that quick start, try to get hope in that organization. I see Detroit winning this game.
Although I see Detroit being a great team this season and being much improved than last year.
Great.
8-8
ain't great.
Hey, because we've seen the last couple seasons. 8-8 would be great for them. I think Tampa Bay's still going to win. They didn't improve, but I don't think Detroit's going to get going until later in the season.
Okay, I can deal with that. Tennessee versus Jacksonville.
David Gerard got a lot to prove, got a rookie waiting to take his job. I think David Gerard's going to come through. Tennessee, Matt Hasselbeck, I think it's going to take him a couple games. You got hopefully that age hasn't gotten to him before he starts winning with the Tennessee Titans.
I'm taking Titans. I just think the Titans better run organization than the Jaguars. Will be ready to play and come out and take this first game on the road. This next game is Pittsburgh versus Baltimore. You know I'm waiting for this one.
Homicide on the field. Baltimore is going to win because they're at home. I think Baltimore has done great by getting 2 starting cornerbacks to actually compete with the Pittsburgh wide receivers. Because they're at home, I'm going to take Baltimore.
I would love to take the Ravens. It would do my heart well to take the Ravens, but it ain't going to happen. The Steelers are going to win. The Ravens, there's a gap between them and the Steelers. I hate to say that, but until Joe Flacco proves to me consistently that he can beat that defense, I'm going with the Steelers. Next game is Indy versus Houston.
Peyton Manning's iffy for game 1. I take Houston. Peyton Manning does not play against Kerry Collins. I think he's going to take a while to get adjusted. I mean, he's only there for a couple games anyway. I think Houston's going to win if Peyton doesn't play game 1.
Houston needs to win this game. They need to get off to the start. They need to get over this Indianapolis hump. However, I don't see it happening this week. I don't care if Kerry Collins or Peyton Manning plays. I'm taking the Colts. Next game we have is Giants versus Washington. Now, this is an interesting game because both teams need to get off the fast starts in a tough division. I'm going to take the Giants in a close game. I just don't see the Redskins having enough talent to stop that potent running game that the Giants is going to bring to them.
I think the Giants' defense is going to handle the game. I think Justin Tuck hits Rex Grossman or John Beck. The game's going to go over. It's going to put the ball in their mouth, and again, their losing season is going to start.
Seattle versus San Fran. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm predicting that this will be the ugliest game you've ever seen. You have Tavares Jackson at quarterback for one team and Alex Smith for another. I'm picking San Fran to win this game 2-0.
I give him a little more credit. I think Alex Smith's going to do all right first 3 quarters, like I said before. Fourth quarter, he's going to have a meltdown. I say still 9-0, San Francisco.
Don't watch it. Trust me. Next game we have is Minnesota versus San Diego.
Minnesota, Donovan McNabb versus Phillip Rivers. I think McNabb's going to have time to get adjusted to Minnesota. I think the lockout hurt a lot of these players, but I think Diego's going to win. Phillip Rivers is going to come. It's in Diego. Phillip Rivers is going to take it home.
The next game we have is Carolina versus Arizona. What you got?
We got Cam Newton, inaccurate thrower, hype from being #1 pick. Or we got Jimmy Clausen, he's being his backup. We have Steve Smith as wide receiver, but that's it. I'll take Arizona. Cole is renewed this franchise, and they're going to take a win for week 1.
I don't like the Kevin Kolb move. I think they gave too much to get him, and I think he's being paid too much to be unproven. That said, I think Arizona's the better team and should win. On Monday night, we have Oakland versus Denver.
I don't know who comes up with these Monday night games in prime time. I mean, you get off work Monday and you got to go see Oakland versus Denver. We have Jason Campbell, unshaky, versus Denver. If Tim Tebow's not starting, I don't see where the ratings are going to come from. I still take Denver at home. Kyle Orton has a lot to prove. You chose me as number 1. He has to prove that he's worth that job.
I'm not as down on this game as you are. I think Kyle Orton is going to come out and play well. I think Denver wins this game. I don't think that Oakland has replaced the loss of Nnamdi. That defense is in flux, and Jason Campbell is just inconsistent at best. So I'm taking Denver. Our next game is Dallas versus the Jets. This one should be interesting. Romo needs to get off to a quick start. Don't get the media on him early. The same thing with the Jets. Sanchez doesn't want to start like he had last year. So both teams trying to get off to a quick start. I'm going to take Dallas on the road.
Dallas on the road. I think the Jets, you got Santonio Holmes, you got Plesko Burris against a Rob Ryan defense. They're having trouble. They don't really have the personnel to really fit his system. I think the Jets are going to win at home.
And our last game is also a Monday nighter. We have Miami versus New England. I don't think this one will be close, ladies and gentlemen. I'm taking the Patriots to run it up, get this one over with quick.
It's a preseason game still? I mean, New England's going to win. Miami, unless you come up with something new, Wildcat, or something new, 12 players on the field, something. I don't see Miami winning at all. I think they're going to have a new coach next year.
Well, that's the end of our picks for this week. We're not done. Our last segment of the show is going to be our Super Bowl picks. Now, trust me, he's going to change his picks. I'm going to hold to mine all season. My pick out of the AFC to get you the Super Bowl is the San Diego Chargers. For Phillip Rivers, it's time. It's no time like the present. This team is going to get out to a quick start, and San Diego is going to go to the Super Bowl, and Phillip Rivers is going to prove to everyone he's an elite quarterback.
I like Phillip Rivers. Who I see going in the AFC, though, is the Jets. Rex Ryan, God love him, funny guy. AFC Championship last 2 seasons. We have a guy who showed he can knock the New England Patriots out the playoffs, who showed he can knock the Indianapolis Colts out the playoffs. I think he's maturing, knowing I cannot be blitz happy on every down. I have to play coverage. We have Darrelle Revis there. We signed Antonio Cromartie again. I think the Jets are going to make it to the Super Bowl.
Only if Mark Sanchez turned into Joe Namath. Out of the NFC, I have the Green Bay Packers. I hate to go chalk and go with the best team, but I just don't see any team overcoming their talent. And Aaron Rodgers is playing at another level.
NFC, I have to go with Green Bay as well. Only because
you're riding the train all the time.
Only reason why is because from preseason, even though it's preseason, I didn't like what I saw with Michael Vick. You got $100 million. You struggled in the preseason. I don't know why. So unless Philly knocks him out, I'm taking Green Bay. You had 8 injured stars last year.
See, he's already making his pick. He's already
8 injured starters last year. I think they're going to repeat this year.
Oh, so you got to win.
No, I've got to win it. I think they're going to repeat the NFC Championship.
Oh, okay. Jumped off their bandwagon. My Super Bowl pick, San Diego Chargers. I think it's Phillip Rivers' time. I think he's an elite quarterback. I think he's ready. I think that defense is ready. And North Turner's going to have him ready to play. I have Chargers over Packers in the Super Bowl.
Well, show you I'm not on a bandwagon. The Jets are going to beat the Green Bay Packers.
Is that, you going to guarantee that?
You guaranteeing your pick?
I'm just asking the question. I don't see him getting
on any given Sunday, you can win or lose. But it's how you win or lose the game.
We going Jamie Foxx? Like, really?
I'm sorry, did I get varsity blues?
And now that the show is dying, we will see you next week with our picks. And I'm already telling you, look out because my picks are better than his. Good luck with your picks this week. We'll see y'all next week.